Hello and welcome to Get Focused. I'm here with Gina Fay. How are you, Gina?
I'm okay. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing well.
Even
This
though we
is our
just even though we just went over this like five
yes, even
minutes
though
ago
you just
before we started recording.
beat me up
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
So this
Love
is our
it.
first episode of 2019.
Okay.
Um, and what we were discussing before we started this live recording was okay. So I used the word feel about New Year's and the holiday season and the importance of whether it is to celebrate the ball dropping or the stroke of midnight, and how I don't think that it's as important as it is made out to be throughout television, so on and so forth. And I definitely do not believe in the New Year's resolutions and different things like that because if you want to make a change in February, you can make a change. If you want to make a change any time of year, it doesn't matter. I made a change in August. I decided I wanted to change the way I eat and exercise. I also made the decision I wanted to compete in a triathlon in 2019 and started training. I
Yay.
didn't wait until New Year's to do this. So what do you think, Gina? Am I wrong? Am
No,
I
I
am I
completely
a party pooper that I don't want to go get blasted out of my mind and stay up till 3 a.m.?
I don't know. What do you think? Do you think you are?
No, I don't think that I am, nor do
Oh,
I feel that way.
well, yeah, but you I was like I was telling you before we started recording, I actually worked on New Year's Eve.
Right.
I hung out with the clients in the center where I work. We had a bonfire, a little bonfire, a little fire, actually, a little tiny fire in a fire pit. And we sat around and before we went, before we sat around the fire, we all wrote down some stuff that we wanted to leave behind in the old year and, you know, wrote it on a piece of paper and put it on the fire when we gathered around the fire.
Yeah.
And then if we wanted to share what that was, we did. If we didn't want to share what that was, it was fine. I left work at 8 o'clock that night, or maybe quarter past eight. That was New Year's Eve. And I was invited to I live in the country here in Hawaii, and I was invited to a huge bonfire on the point. Beautiful, beautiful place. And I just thought, nah, I'm good,
Yeah.
really good. Let me just go home. And I was in bed by 10 o'clock. So a lot of times I think we expect that other people are judging us for not being one of the sheeples.
I like that. I like sheeples.
But a lot of that is on our internalized expectations of ourselves. Who says? You know what? I would if I ever say to you, I want to go to New Year's in Times Square, kill me because I will have lost my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I'm about saying Happy New Year to my children, and that's the other thing. Okay, so then New Year's happens, right? Now it's the 1st of January, and do you have to say Happy New Year to everybody you speak to?
I don't know. You tell me. Do you have to?
No, I don't feel like I have to.
Well, it
No, but
sounds like you believe you should.
no, but I'm bringing it up because I know that every email, every phone call, it was like sent to me, "Happy New Year," da 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 da, and it brought that to my attention that I don't say Happy December, I don't say Happy New Month. When the month changes, again, it doesn't. There is significance, I guess, in a change of the calendar year,
Ah,
but
time. It's a human construct.
yeah, okay. And that's what I mean. So I wanted to address this because I know that I'm not the only one. And it's okay to be that. Just like we addressed, it's okay to not give presents.
It's
It's okay
what,
to give
what
your time.
here's the deal. For me, what's most okay and most desirable is for me to be authentic, to
Yeah.
be the person that I truly am, and not to be manipulated or yeah, manipulated really,
Yeah, or pressured.
or pressured to do anything that doesn't sit well with me. My first
Yeah,
job is to check out, is that something that I want to do?
right,
And if it is, I do it. And if it isn't, I don't. It's
right.
really that easy. And it's taken years and years and years to give my to find my way to giving myself permission to do that.
Well, to give yourself that freedom, right?
Exactly.
It's liberating, and
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. It's interesting because yes, am I getting older? We all are, and you
is.
look at
I'm youthing.
you're
I've
yes,
found the
you're
fountain of youth.
29 again.
I've found the fountain of youth here in
Well, you
Hawaii.
are in Hawaii, isn't that where it would be if it was anywhere?
It's here.
So
Everybody says it, dude. Everybody says it. So,
they say it in Key West too, as they're walking naked down the streets.
well, yeah. Okay.
So,
Thanks for that image.
yeah, right. So, but my point is that as I have aged, I have learned more about myself and learned more about my feelings and what I should and should not think and not think, and it's okay to think to basically give myself permission.
To be yourself.
Um, yeah, we ended I think our last episode with you discussing with me how I still have the pressures and allow the pressures of being accepted and looking for acceptance in a lot of my choices and decisions.
In for you, acceptance is important for all of us.
Right.
There's no question about that. But the options for us to get to that place of acceptance is to continue to look for acceptance outside of ourselves, base our security and our sense of comfort on being accepted by some external force,
Right.
or recognize that the place where true acceptance comes and all else comes after is internal acceptance. We accept ourselves, then even if Joe Blogs down the street doesn't accept us, even if our children don't accept us, it's okay. We recognize that that's about them and not about us, and that our job is to accept ourselves and be fully as much who we can be as we can,
Yeah.
who we are, who we really are. Because that belief that that acceptance or satisfaction or happiness or anything comes from out there somewhere is monkey mind. You
I
read the
just read
book.
that again.
You read the book.
I just read it again. I had it on the plane.
Good.
So, yeah, the book goes everywhere with me. So, no, and that's part of why I went down the road of thinking about New Year's and
Oh yeah.
how commercialized and the pressures of what party are you going to, who you're partying with, and how big is it, and things like that. Really don't matter to me. Maybe 15, 20 years ago, but
Sure.
no,
Because
I wanted to go to bed. I
yeah,
wanted no, honestly, what I was thinking about and was the next day's my routine, my exercise routine.
yeah, yeah.
I literally every night think more about that and excitement for that than most any other things. I look forward to that because that's my time. That's me. That helps me with my mental focus. Kind of clears if I'm running or if I'm riding or even swimming. It gives me peace. I don't know
Well,
however else to look at it.
well, the thing that I would guess is that capacity for feeling whole, that capacity to purely take time for yourself and turn your focus on yourself was not something you had very much of growing up.
Yeah.
So now that you've given that to yourself, you see the huge value in it.
Yeah, I just, I wish I could just grab people and have them understand, you know, but it's everybody's journey and they have to,
They have to figure it
find it
out
for
for themselves.
themselves.
You're telling, see, I know. I mean, A long, long time ago, I read a really awesome quote, and I wish to God I still had it, but I have no idea where it is. And I tried Googling it, but I couldn't find something exactly to what it was. But it was basically about a man or a person, really, watching a butterfly struggle out of its cocoon and finding the impulse within himself to help the butterfly because it was exhausted. It was struggling and struggling and struggling, and it couldn't make it out of its cocoon. So he tore the cocoon for the butterfly, trying to help it free itself.
Right.
And that butterfly never learned to fly because it's was in that butterfly struggle to get out of the cocoon that it developed its capacity, its strength to fly. And
Right.
so if we try to spare other people discomfort because really watching their discomfort makes us uncomfortable, we're depriving them of a really critical, essential piece of their learning. It's not about them that we're doing that, truly, if we thought about it.
Right.
Truly,
It's like, doing everything for your child, they'll never learn how to do it for themselves. It's the same concept.
or
And
having all the answers, or intervening for your child all the time, or speaking for your child, or anything like that at all. And no matter, I mean, so, you know, I've had a parent tell me, my child told me that I was real, that he was really depressed. And I told him he wasn't. I said, what have you got to be depressed about? But where
I
does
love
that,
that statement. What do you have to be,
what do you have to
you know?
but where does that, where does that leave that child in terms of that child's own inner journey and exploration? It leaves them in a confused place
Yeah,
because,
they never think that they should feel. They feel guilty for having those thoughts.
well, not only that, but they get confused. They get confused because, on the one hand, they're feeling what they categorize and define as depressed or even sad, you know. But then their adult, their God really says, no, you're not. And so they're like, well, well, but, uh, and so they learn to, they learn to distrust their own feelings. They learn to not be secure in
Right.
what they believe is going on in themselves.
Yeah, and to feel guilty about it.
They may, or angry about it,
Yeah.
or different people will react to that in different ways. But really, what's going on is the parent is taking what their child is saying as a reflection of them. Oh my God, my child is depressed. My child is sad. That means I'm a bad parent. No, you're not. You're not depressed. Because so their discomfort is taking over and eclipsing what the child's reality is.
Right.
It doesn't do anybody any favors.
No, but again, and we've talked about this in past episodes, that there are books about parenting, but no one ever really, where do we learn? We learn from our parents. And where did they
Oh,
learn? They learn from their parents.
oh,
You know,
absolutely.
I definitely feel though that
Wait,
in
wait.
society, okay,
Hold,
I
hold.
definitely think,
Yeah. Because I was really going to ask you what you're
where do
about.
you feel it?
Where in your body do you feel it?
In my head. So I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
in my heart, how about that? So I think that the world, maybe it's the world I live in and I'm surrounded with, but I do think that there's more questions and there's more answers now than there was 20 years ago, per se, where
Oh,
it is
we-
definitely more open.
yeah.
Um, Part of our trip, our family trip, was in Savannah, Georgia, and um, we did the tour. We go every about 3 4 years, and we do a tour through the city on one of them bus tours, guided, and they talk about a lot of things. Now, Savannah, Georgia, is one of our oldest. It is the oldest city in Georgia. Um, so there's a whole lot of history and discussions. And so they drive you through the city, and you're touring some of these, looking at the homes and the buildings that are from the 17 and 1800s.
Yeah.
And some of the houses have stairwells that go up either side to the front door.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And the explanation for why they had stairwells like that was because the women would use the one side and the men would use the other. Because if a man was to see a woman's ankles, okay, that little part above your foot, um, they would have to ask for that woman's hand in marriage, or they would be challenged to a duel with either the brother or father of the
If they
woman,
had,
young lady.
yeah, but yeah,
If they physically seen the ankles, right? Because a woman had to be covered from her ankles, her feet to her neck. You know, that was the tradition. That's what the rules of life were.
yeah.
So it brought me to a discussion with Corinne, our daughter, and Anthony, and every and the rest of the kids, but primarily Corinne, because we talk a lot about, she's a freshman in college, and we talk a lot about rights and people's rights and equal rights and so on and so forth. And what I feel in our society, we don't talk
What,
enough about.
where do you
What
feel?
I think in our society is that we do not discuss enough about how far we have come.
That's true.
Do we
That's very
need do
true.
we need to go further?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are we going
But
to? It's inevitable.
correct. And that's the other point, right?
Yep.
Because look, when our country was first established, even before it was established, we had rules in place that were ridiculous in today's day and age.
Oh,
Now, I turn to my daughter. I mean, it's 80 degrees. She's in a tank top and shorts. I mean, look at what's
unthinkable.
changed.
I got to shut my door because I'm
Go
chilly.
ahead.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Keep talking though. I'm listening.
I'm sure you are. I'll keep feeling.
Okay.
So, so it brings me to the point that, yes, we still do need to make improvements and adjustments, and we are making them. And society is making this. But it really bothers me that we focus on, oh, we've gone backward. No, we have not gone backwards. I know that there's a lot of turmoil, but in the same aspect, there's turmoil because we keep advancing.
Well, and also out of chaos comes order.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, you can't have heads without tails. There's good and evil. I mean, there's reasons
Or,
for all of it.
or actually, are they not two sides of the same coin?
Right.
Good and evil, yin and yang, black and white. How can you have sunshine without darkness?
Correct.
So it's all one thing. But I think that, what you're talking about is um, the media.
Yeah.
The media
100%.
focuses because there's a lot of sensationalism in that. And we've been, this is a huge, huge topic, but I think that people are managed by fear, and the population is to be managed.
Yes, but I do believe as well that I talk a lot about this in training. We as people, we do tend to gravitate towards being led, right?
I think many people, yeah. Because again, like we were talking about before we started, we're talking about externalizing the source of our happiness, of our
Yeah.
contentment, or internalizing the source of our happiness and our contentment. Looking for rules that are placed on us from outside, looking for rules that are placed on us by ourselves. I think that's boy, that opens up an interesting conversation because, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, and I used to read tarot cards,
Right. You told me.
and the tarot cards have two sections. One is the major arcana, one is the minor arcana. The major arcana is essentially a description of the human evolution. through, personal growth, spiritual growth, however you
Right.
want to say it. The minor arcana is more specific to each individual, the changes that we go through on a day-to-day basis. But what really struck me about what I liked when I learned about this was at the beginning of our path through life, however many times we evolve, either in one lifetime or in many lifetimes, we all look for wisdom outside of ourselves. When we're children, we need our parents' guidance and we look to them for guidance. But in a larger sense, when what we are, what is, what our potential is to ultimately recognize that the source of all wisdom resides within ourselves. So you're right. A lot of people are in that place in their lives where they want to be told what to do by some
Because
external.
I think it's scary for people
Yes, it is.
to
Yes,
rely solely on themselves.
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
You know,
Because
everyone,
it's too much responsibility.
yeah, absolutely. Everyone wants to be the millionaire, but you know, in order to get there, you have to rely on yourself. They want someone else to do it. That's why the lottery is so big. You know, they're looking for that other avenue to get to whatever their goal is. It's the
Happiness
same.
is somewhere out there. My happiness is dependent on something that's going to happen outside of me.
No,
It's not. It really isn't.
no, it's all within you.
That's all there is, really. But like you say, you're 100% right. And it's so interesting that you should talk about, what you were saying about we don't take time really to acknowledge how far we've come.
Yeah.
And I think that that applies to society as a whole. It applies to any systems at all. It applies to individuals too, because I was just saying to one of my clients at the rehab center where I work, because he was saying to me, "Oh my God, I've got so much to do, and I've learned so much, but there's still so much left to do." And I'm like, "How about just letting yourself luxuriate in how far you've come so far?"
Yeah.
It's so essential. I
Isn't that part of New Year's?
it could be part of every day. It doesn't have to be
I agree with you.
either.
I mean, I feel we should look at it as often as possible.
You feel
I'm a
that
big
way, feel that.
I think that we should look at it as often as possible to the point where I like to keep I journal everything I do, you
Wonderful.
know, just so uh
It's a wonderful thing to do.
I take note of everything that we just mentioned. You know, what was accomplished, and also to take note of what I do still need to do and prioritize those things, because sometimes we tend to say, oh, there's so many things that I need to do, and if you write them down and look at them, you tend to find that, okay, so here's three things that, yeah, that don't really needs to be done, but these do, and because we tend to prioritize things
We
differently in
don't
our heads,
we
or we
don't
don't prioritize.
we don't prioritize. And I heard a definition of anxiety the other day,
Mhm.
which is trying to do everything all at once.
Well, I just had a conversation with a client today. So one of our clients just hired a new employee, and whenever that happens, I go in and spend time with them to make sure they understand the process, so on and so forth. And he's struggling with the fact that he's an excellent salesperson, very strong numbers at the location he was at, and now he's moved to this location. He's been there. He's been on the job for 7 days, but he hasn't been able to sell anything at this point. Now, the first 3 to 4 days are HR and paperwork and all that type of stuff, and so it was really a conversation about understanding that you just went from a huge funnel to zero, and the more pressure you put on yourself to do the same numbers you did 30 days ago at a place you were at for 4 or 5 years,
the less likely you are to achieve it.
Yeah, and
It's gonna
it's
happen.
not fair to yourself,
Nope,
you know. I mean,
definitely.
so I'm hoping that our conversation, we talked for 2 to 3 hours over many different things, and I mean, I could just feel it. I could sense his, um, I guess, anxiety, right? So, and just because he's like, I know how to do it. I know the recipe, and I said, well, that's where you start. Start with the first step in the recipe, and be happy with, you know, getting an appointment. Then be happy with the appointment showing, and then you take those baby steps, because we do put so much pressure on ourselves to go from 0 to 10. I mean, look, that what do we talk when we talk about cars? Oh, they go to 0 to 60 and blah 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 blah. And I mean, really, is that the goal, to go from 0 to 60? No, the goal is to maintain, right?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Some people would say, yeah, it's my goal to go from 0 to 60. So, there's no one answer that fits all. Everybody approaches
It's
things
funny.
in a very different way. What? What?
I said that's funny because that's exactly what I said to him today. Is that everyone has their different. Some people want to be, you know, X, and others are happy not being there, and that's the
Well,
difference.
I guess the point of the exercise overall is to evaluate how you're feeling doing X, how it's working out for you doing X, and remind yourself that doing X is not your only option.
Right.
A lot of people kind of believe that that find themselves locked into, what JF at the exclusive calls it is fused thinking.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, like you don't have any other choices. All you can do. But NLP, neuro linguistic programming, says if you have no choices, you're dead. If
Yeah.
you have one choice, you're stuck. If you have two choices, you have a dilemma on your hands. They advise always to have three or more choices for any situation. And because then you have a degree of flexibility and more freedom.
I
You're
like
not,
flexibility.
you're not, me too. Me too. I mean, people, have we ever talked about Louise Hay?
No, I don't think we have.
She wrote a book called, well, many books actually. One of them was called You Can Heal Yourself. Another one was You Can Heal Your Life. And she talks about mental states
Mhm.
that can be manifested in physical disabilities. So
Oh,
yeah, and she even, I mean, she's fascinating woman, brilliant, brilliant woman. And speaking of being rigid and as opposed to being flexible, a lot of times what can come from really, really rigid thinking, really, really frightened, rigid thinking, is arthritis.
oh, interesting.
That's one of the things she said. Now, my mom had Parkinson's disease, and for the second half of her life, from 43 to 83, she she got progressively more a victim, a prisoner in her own body,
Right.
because she was shaking at first, and then she couldn't control her movements,
Right.
basically. So what Louise Hay suggests Parkinson's disease is about is an insatiable, overwhelming desire to control,
Wow.
right?
So the desire to control the situation and everything around you causes this
Can,
disability.
can.
Can cause this disability.
I'm no medical doctor, and there are
No,
many
no,
other.
no. I understand. Here, I mean, um, so with training and you know with the goal of a I guess it's considered ultra athlete, right? Uh, a triathlete. It's mental. So I do a lot of reading of or listening to Audible books.
Yeah, I
David
know.
David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL, and he's an ultra marathoner. He's ran 60 plus of them, and he has a book out, and it's just fascinating. Um, and because what I've learned a lot about, and other Audible books that I've listened to on this topic, is how powerful our minds are over our physical bodies,
Oh,
and
unbelievably.
being able to accomplish things because of a mental state. And I know there are physical ailments. I do believe in that. Again, I'm not a physician either, but I do also believe that our minds can control how we handle those.
Oh,
Does
beyond
that make sense?
beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, when I lived in England, I think you know this. I was married to a homeopath. My son's father is a homeopath,
Yes.
and homeopathy doesn't talk about people having cancer. They talk about people cancering themselves
Yeah, I could
as a
understand that.
verb, as a verb, based on their attitude toward themselves, based on their capacity to allow themselves to be direct and open with other people or not. So the less, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is a
Well,
whole.
we talk about that with clients. The client, in sales, and I'm sure it's in other businesses and industries as well. They talk about employees becoming a cancer within the floor, the sales location,
Yeah,
because and we spoke about this on previous episodes. What it takes mentally to be able to sell, you have to be open,
yeah.
and you have to be positive and inviting, and make people trust
In
and
order, yeah,
open in
in order,
return.
yeah, in order to be effective, you have to be present. It doesn't really matter what you do, but the key to being effective in life, I think, is awareness and presence
Yes, in this moment.
in this moment. Sure.
Yeah,
What else is there anyway? Because if you're thinking about yesterday, you're not here. If you're
right.
thinking about tomorrow, you're not here.
I love that statement. I mean,
Else.
it's so true. When I have witnessed people that I know and care about really take a situation from the future and focus on that so much and worry about that so much that it ruins
Their moment.
today and everything leading up to it,
Over and over and over again.
only to find out that it doesn't happen the way
They
you.
expect it to. So look at the way that amazing and wonderful energy that we all have is being spent. That's everybody's choice to do that, of course. And there are reasons. I mean, I understand that people have very good reasons to have developed this coping mechanism, but it's a choice. When we become adults, it becomes a choice. Do we want to be present, or do we want to continue to run from the moment? Because when we were children, the moment, being in the experience that they were in, was too painful, so they had to learn to check out.
Yeah,
Sexual abuse victims learn to check out, or they learn to read books. Voracious readers, people who were, otherwise abused, do that, and they bring that behavior into adult life, not knowing that they're not being sexually abused anymore, but they're still acting like they are.
yeah,
They're still behaving as if they have to defend themselves against something in the moment, in the present. They haven't stopped a moment to look around and evaluate accurately, what's my situation right now, and is this behavior, is this defense mechanism still necessary? People don't stop and think about that. We're so many of us on autopilot.
yeah. Autopilot. Is so true. They're just kind of going through the motions. You know,
The Walking
wait.
Dead,
Yeah,
sleepwalk.
man. I can't. I have to embrace it.
They don't have to do anything.
No, I'm not saying they do. I do.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me
Me,
too. Me too. It's
it's
such, what a blessing it is, what a gift it is to come to this awareness, right?
Oh yeah, it's liberating, as I stated earlier in our conversation, and I know that this conversation's kind of been all over the place, but
But ours
I
always are. This is why we
I
wanted to
yeah,
do
but
this.
I definitely feel like this is a perfect first episode for 2019
Good,
because
good.
we're reflecting on last year in a sense and past and how we don't look at the past enough and appreciate where we have come. I mean, I want to say this is episode 28. We
Wow,
do one a week. So
amazing.
20, yeah, so 28. I mean,
That's a lot.
that's over half a year.
Woo-hoo!
It's
Amazing.
been, this is great. I mean, I love it. And this is a taste of many different topics that we're going to dive deeper into. And I was listening to, again, it was the David Goggins book. And I was listening to one of Joe Rogan's podcasts. And, they were discussing the, the power of a podcast and how people have gravitated towards podcasts because these are real, right? So we have discussed this before in the past episodes that, you know, we all we edit is add an intro and an out, and that's it. We don't, you can watch our YouTube video and see us and how we make mistakes and don't make mistakes and whatever, how you pick on me about feeling and
No,
so on and
stop it.
so.
That's not fair.
I know.
I know you bait me about that, Bill, but
No,
what's your resistance? See, I mean, it's interesting to me that I've pointed this out to you many times,
but I
and
still go to it
still use, when you're talking about something you think or you believe, you still say you feel. So it
because
makes me wonder, hold on,
go
it makes
ahead.
me wonder how connected or disconnected you are with your actual feelings.
Well, so that brings up a good point, right? So I feel like I use the
You just
word
did
I
it
yeah, I know. I realized I didn't mean to.
again.
I
I
think that I
think,
use the word feeling
yeah,
because I kind of, I associate them as the same.
they're not. They're not. This is how we disconnect ourselves from our real feelings. We're talking heads, many of us. We're not in our bodies fully. You're learning to be in your body. I'm learning to
Right.
be in my body, but it's easy. It's an illusion to say I feel something when in fact you think it. It's not true. It's simply not accurate.
I understand.
I feel upset. I feel frustrated. I feel joyous. I feel delighted. I feel optimistic. Where do you feel that? Oh, I feel it in my heart. Where do you feel sad? Where do you feel frightened? Oh, I feel it in my stomach. Because unless we learn to listen to our bodies, our minds are going to lead us astray. Like you were saying, the mind is a very powerful thing, but it also can lie to us.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with that one.
And if we're looking to find the truth of our experience and the truth in any situation, it it benefits us hugely to listen to what's going on, feel what's going on in our bodies. If there's ever a question about, is this something I should do? Is this something I shouldn't do? You can't think your way through that because the mind is a terrible master, but a wonderful servant. The mind is critical. The mind is really important. But
Okay,
so,
so what you're saying is so because I guess what I associate them as the same, my feelings and my thoughts. Is that what you're saying?
it sounds like that.
So you don't think sadness, you feel sadness,
Uh huh.
right? So when I say I feel, that's what I'm associating with
Well, when
as
you
an
say I,
emotion.
yeah, when you say, well, there's an actual distinction between emotions and feelings as well.
Okay.
So feelings are something we all have.
Right.
Feelings are, universal. They're very diverse, but they're universal. Emotions are stories that we attach to specific feelings usually that we had at a very early age. And that story, we keep telling ourselves about that feeling over and over and over again.
Is that the same thing as associating a song or a smell to an
Uh,
experience?
I suppose it is, but there's less, mm, it's less restrictive. Associating a smell with an experience, it is kind of like that, but
Okay.
it's a story that may be true and that may not be true. When we feel, so say we feel frightened, if we've been traumatized as a child, then when we feel that feeling of fear again, we're going to go right back to that story that we told ourselves about that initial experience of fear and react in a similar kind of way and be incapable of reacting in any different way or responding in any different way because we're going to go right back to that emotion. Oh, that means this and that means I'm going to get hurt. So I better get defensive
Right. Okay.
instead of just let the feeling come and go and without judgment about it. I think emotions can be judgments about feelings.
Okay. I know we got to end.
Okay. Boy, that was abrupt.
No, you have to go, right?
I do. Yes, thank you very much. But I was not keeping an eye on the time.
I understand.
You're right. Thank you, dear.
You look out for my thoughts.
Okay. And feel it.
So what I need to do is I need to pay attention to when I say that, why am I saying it?
Well, no, I wouldn't see because whenever we ask ourselves a question that begins with why, that
Mhm.
throws us up into our head.
Well, I'm just trying to figure
I
because
think
I
it's
don't.
automatic, Bill. I just
Well,
think it's
that's what I mean. I think that it is. I don't think I'm really
me.
associate.
I know,
It's just the term that I'm using
I know. That's
and misusing.
I think you're right. But it because so if you're
I'm just
that
a dumb city boy. No, but you understand what I'm
if
saying.
you're that locked into that habit, what other habits are you mindlessly locked into?
Well, I quit smoking.
But ways of being, ways of thinking, ways of talking to yourself is what I mean.
No, I
If
understand,
some of
and
that
that's
so automatically, it might benefit you. You don't need to do anything, but it might be to your advantage to pay closer attention to yourself because you
correct.
deserve it. You deserve to
No,
be
and I appreciate that, and I'm not making light of it.
no,
I'm just I'm just explaining to you that I this is what I love. I want to understand and learn more about me and why I do or say the things that I do. And that's why I'm saying to you that I don't want to pay closer attention because I think there's something wrong or something or maybe there is. But
nothing's wrong. You're
but
perfect
I
exactly
do
the way
want
you are.
to understand
Well, you
why I say it. That's
brings
all.
what it will do is will help you feel more integral, more integrated with all the parts of yourself. And I think that that's a really worthy
Yeah,
aspiration for all of us to feel like we have personal integrity,
I like it.
right?
100%.
Two thumbs up.
Two thumbs up. I like two thumbs up. Is it cold in Hawaii?
Yeah,
Get out of town.
yeah, it's well, I'm not going to tell you how cold because you're going to laugh.
Because I'm going to make fun of you. Well,
Yeah,
it's 50s here.
wow.
Yeah, it's cold in
It's
San Diego.
it snowed on Mauna Kea.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's what? How many thousands of feet up?
Oh, 14,000 feet.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's all. You can't go up there without getting dizzy.
Oh, I believe it.
It's unbelievable. It's incredible. The one time I went up there was incredible.
Yeah, there's barely any air to breathe.
Right, but
It's
magnificent.
fascinating.
I fall in love with this place more and more every day.
No, that's awesome.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
so happy for you.
Thank you.
So
So
that's how you turn the chapter. You're almost at a year.
yeah, right? April, it'll be a year.
That's
Did I tell you my
crazy.
kids are coming in March?
Yes, yes, you told me. That's amazing. That's great.
It's gonna be fun.
The kids and the grandbabies.
Yeah.
That'll be a blast. But I
Yeah.
know I'll let you go because you got
Okay.
to prepare.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone listening. Please like us, share us, enjoy us. Go to our Facebook page.
And
Join the conversation.
any ideas that you have, we really, really would love to hear from you. We will read everything, we will pay attention to everything, and we will
Yes.
respond to everything. So please
Yeah, we
give it
love the
a go.
interaction. So come and
Yeah.
make 2019 great and
Yeah.
step out of your comfort zone and contact us. Right?
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye,
Yep.
Gina.
Bye.